Hello, good evening, Dr. Maheshport. Welcome. Hello, am I audible? Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please make me host so I can.
Uh, Let me
Yeah, yeah.
check. Yeah,
I'm a presenter right now.
yeah. Now you are co-host. Just check it out.
Yeah, yeah. I'm co-host. Make me host.
Okay, I am just
Yeah,
trying.
so I can handle. I can handle
Okay,
mute people. Yeah, make me host.
okay.
Okay, done. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Am I audible clearly?
Yes, you are audible. Who is this?
Rakshit Dwivedi.
Yeah, Akshat. Yes. Yeah, I know. Okay, okay, sure.
Good evening, participant. Thank you very much for joining. We'll be starting soon.
Am I visible? Kalpesh,
Yes,
am
yes,
I
yeah,
visible?
yeah, visible, visible.
And my voice audible, right?
Audible, audible. Yes, yes. We'll be starting in 5-6 minutes. People are joining.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, sure. Good evening, participants. Thank you very much for joining. We'll be starting in a couple of minutes.
So am I audible? Good evening, sir.
Yes,
Am
yes,
I
yes, madam. You're
audible?
audible. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you, sir.
Okay, sure.
Kalpesh has solved.
Yeah, I will start in 1 minute. Yeah, we will start in 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think let us start. Dr. Maheshpur, shall we start? Yes, I'm starting. Yeah. So, good evening to all of you. First, I would like to thank all the participants for joining this, I would say, the unique initiative jointly done by GNLU Center for Disability Studies and Pro Bono India. So let me start with how we thought of this particular program. So I hope some of the participants I can see they were the part of POSH, the capacity building program on POSH Act. So we have Dr. Shraddha Rajput from HNLU. So she suggested this program on POSH uh, 1 year back, and then we have conducted two edition of the capacity building program on POSH Act. Same thing a few months back, she suggested, sir, we can also plan on this, program on disability because many are law, we have law, but again, a lot of issues are there related to this particular law, poor implementation, and we can see so many cases are keep coming with, like, for example, admission, accessibility, and so many issues are there that we'll discuss in this particular 10 days. So that's why uh, we thought of this again, the few months back we started with doctor I was talking with Dr. Mary Sport. Let us plan with the case compilation of disabilities laws. So that's where we started, and then right now we are in the final stage of that particular book. So we thought of we are extending that particular, not case compilation, but again it's being converted into handbook of disabilities laws. So you will see after few months things are going on. So in the final stage of editing. So I hope, and then we have planned this 10 days program, like focusing on from introduction part to various legislation and schemes in India. So on this, on behalf of organizing committee, we welcome all of you this program on disabilities laws in India. Now I request Dr. Mary Sport, he's heading, it's his brainchild of behind this particular the Center for Disability Studies. So I hope some of the law schools might have heard they've started this kind of center. We have corporate law center and the constitutional law center, this and that. But again, nobody talking about this particular thing. So that's why I request Dr. Marispo to throw some light on this particular center, the initiative, and your thought on this particular law. Over to you, Dr. Marispo.
Okay. Uh, Thanks, Dr. Kalpesh Gupta. It's very great initiative. I would like to congratulate for this initiative, and I welcome Shraddha ma'am, and I welcome all the participants. Here, it's an unique thing which we think disability law. It's altogether separate law. If it's That's a mix. Please remember the idea of having this CBP is that make everybody to aware how to connect RPWD Act or other disabilities laws like RCA Act or Mental Health Act with your regular laws. So that's the behind this. For example, we discuss legal capacity in jurisprudence and contract act, even some extent in the BN. However, while discussing, we often use the term lunatic. Then we, however, if we do that RPWDR or disability jurisprudence, that goes a question so-called normality, some kind of fixation. How come you say that so-and-so person is incapable? Right? So that way we are going into this FT. We are not studying only disability manner. We are going to study disability law all connected with other law subjects. For example, Copyright Act. And this example very, very vital. Copyright Act. It has a provision. If I recollect it, 52, which has some kind of elements which constitute infringement. There are some exclusions. Any modified material for persons with disability. But what is the meaning of modified? How is modified? We never understand. Here, I am telling you, as a person with a disability, might be knowing how I used, right? I used to scan the book and convert it into Word and read it.
Yes, yes.
Right? So, see, here I am modifying the book from its original format. Am I breaching? No. Similarly, various aspects like healthcare, like education, like you can say that sports, like let us say as a consumer, there are various angles. Now, what happened? In fact, conference only come across some kind of reasonable accommodation they give. But what about other places? Why it is not? Right? So that's where we are actually going one step ahead. Apart from that, now if you look at UG, every institution supposed to have a equal opportunity policy. Even in that, they have mentioned you have to have grievance redressal mechanism for PWD, right? So as a result, we may have some cell, either equal opportunity cell separately and generally that is committee for persons with disabilities separately. And we have a research oriented center. Now, please remember the aim when we ma'am's proposal, special FDP, then we had a discussion. In fact, Professor, about 4-5 years, when you start organizing this kind of FDPs, we had a discussion. Then sir also asked from other places. Now, actually, Kalpe sir actually realized, yes, there is a demand. We can have it. And please remember, this disability law is not for disabilities. This FDP is not for disabilities. It's for everyone. right? There are certain terms which we might come across: reasonable accommodation and affirmative measures, and you can say that accessibility. These terms we come across, right? These terms are again differ person to person and place to place. For example, right now I'm talking to you through WebEx. Whether the WebEx is accessible, is it creating any problem? That's one aspect. If I am a student, is accessible. My class teacher is accessible. Please remember, accessible not in terms of meeting, in terms of communication, in terms of material. Whereas if different, whether the way Kalpesh is speaking, is it easily understandable for me if I am having learning disability? So please remember these three terms are not a particular place. Every place you have to do. At the same time, these terms are either expanding or in a different way, different parameters, depending upon the requirement. If I am in a job, I may have a scanner requirement, but this might not be the case. So that's where keep that in mind while you are dealing this. In fact, one interesting thing which we come when we floated this event, I think yesterday before yesterday, Kalpesh sir has forwarded one case, invisible disability. Please remember, RPW talks about benchmark. But if you look at Vikas Kumar judgment, it's not about only disabilities. It might be expanded. And please remember how we are going to interact with these people, what and what we should not do with them, right? We are going to discuss. Apart from that, pro bono is coming. You might pro bono is coming here. One interesting thing, there is a special provision under RPWD Act which talks about legal aid to the PWD. Till now, nobody actually even deliberated that much. However, Kalpesh sir, he is so kind enough. Actually, he thought of at least let us start with academia, right? So keep that in mind. We have deliberated these things and we commence with this program. Today we have with us Shraddha ma'am, she the introductory part. And please remember, this introduction itself, you come to know about many aspects, how we can correlate disability with jurisprudence, disability with economics, and disability with some other sociological subjects, and disability with your core law papers. I'm talking about main law papers. That's basic. That introduction ma'am will deal with. Then I will take some topics: RPWD, rights and entitlements, and mental health act. Then Bhubadi sir will be there. He is going to RCA, Rehabilitation Council of India Act. Please remember this Rehabilitation Council, disability related curriculum. It's not a special curriculum, but the special teachers are some kind of agencies. So RCA has the power. Similarly, we have Mental Health Act, right? And National Trust Act, some legislation, right? So Mental Health Act, I will be dealing with that. And RCA Act, Bhubadi will be dealing with that. And Mr. Dr. Sachin from Himachal Pradesh National Law University. So he will be dealing with some vital topics, right? And Sanjay Jain are also there. He is a professor of law, NLSIU. So he will be dealing with some portions, right? Because we actually divide in such a way that vital aspects will be given to the participants. Some of the students also join and many of the faculties also join, right? So that's where we devised the course in a such a way that 9 days. And please remember, when we discussed 9 days is not enough. There are some more topics which we haven't covered, but we thought let us keep it short, right? Then we can go ahead, right? So you will enjoy this workshop. Any queries or doubts related to this particular FDP, you can address to Kalpesh sir. So he will be able to guide you for this. I'm concluding my introduction remarks. Over to you, Kalpesh sir. And Shraddha ma'am, thank you for joining us, ma'am.
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Marisford, for highlighting the importance of this particular subject matter. Again, let me tell you, I don't know when I read this RPTW Act, right? Old and new one, because we have so many subjects are there in our LLB, LLM, and other courses, but nobody's talking about this particular law. So some of the participants you must be knowing and part of this case compilation, series done by Pro Bono India. So we come up with so many other case compilations. So in that, Dr. Marispo suggested let us plan this one case compilations. We started. Um, that we are working in it is in the final stage of we are focusing on converting making very comprehensive one in the form of the handbook. And the recently I got an opportunity to speak on like in NFSU they are running a program on child certificate course on child rights. So faculty coordinators he requested me, sir, can you talk about the children with disability? So let me tell you, it was very Herculean task. So I had to read the act, and it took around 15-16 hours for that preparation. I prepared 70 plus slide PPT. So it was a great experience. Let me tell you, I was reading cases for case compilation, and then I read this particular act. Then I got to know, there is a call like the reasonable accommodation, person with disability, person with benchmark disability. So many things are there. Let me tell you, most of we are not aware about these things, and we cannot feel empathize. People how the people with different able people they feel and they are facing difficulties in their regular life. So that was the idea. I hope you'll get insight or some understanding about this particular field, and then try to implement your curriculum, your practice, right, and enforce it. We have so many laws various point of time, but again the enforcement is a big challenge. We see even the law has it has been many act. I'm not talking about this particular act. There are act they completed a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades, but things are there. So with this, on behalf of organizing committee, we welcome you all of you, and I hope you will get a greater understanding about this particular subject. So thank you very much. Now it's already 7 p.m. So let us start with our first session. So I request Akshit Dwivedi to introduce our guest, Dr. Shraddha Rajput. Over to you, Akshit.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, respected guests, faculty members, and fellow participants. Welcome to day one of the 10 days online capacity building program on disability laws, jointly organized by Pro Bono India and GNLU Center for Disability Studies, Gujarat National Law University. I am Akshit, a student of Hidayatullah National Law University, Raipur, your moderator for this evening session. I am delighted to open today's dialogue on the theme that challenges stigma and advances justice. Introduction to Disability Studies. To begin with a quote that sets the tone, your disability is not your identity. Harold Pinder, this statement resonates with the ethos of our program, recognizing the individuality, dignity, and the rights of the person with disability beyond limiting labels. It is my privilege to introduce our distinguished speaker, Dr. Shraddha Rajput ma'am, a passionate educator, constitutional law expert, and a dedicated advocate for inclusive legal frameworks. Dr. Rajput is an assistant professor of law at Hidayatullah National University, Raipur, where she has completed mentoring future legal professionals since 2012. With 13 years of experience in academia, her commitment to constitutional values is deeply reflected in her teaching and research. She
Akshay,
completed.
Akshit, may I interrupt you here? I say just leave it and we will directly switch to the topic, okay? What I feel we are already exceeding bit of time, okay? So
Sure,
that
ma'am.
is enough for me that I'm teaching the law subject and I'm with you all, okay? So we can directly start.
Sure, ma'am. We are honored to have her guide us through the fundamental ideas of disability studies, offering insight that connect the legal theories, social justice, and policy implementation. Ma'am, the stage is yours.
Okay. Am I visible and am I audible?
Yes, yes, sir. You are audible, but not visible.
Just give me 2 minutes. Sir, am I visible now?
You are visible through one screen.
Yes,
Okay, okay,
yes. I
sir.
require that only. I have kept a backup for the other.
Okay, one thing. Over to you.
Okay, shall I start?
Yes, yes, sir. Over to you.
Okay, okay. Thank you, sir. Now, good evening, everyone. At the outset, I would like to express my gratitude to Pro Bono India and GNLU Center for Disability Studies, Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar, for giving me an opportunity to speak on one of the most essential topic in this 10 days online capacity building program on disability laws. Again, as I say, before I start, I would make few things very clear. I'm sitting here in a capacity as a learner. I specifically mention this thing because I feel there are so many things I can learn in through this capacity building program. The second thing I would be telling you that I'm not going to share or deliver a lecture on this specific topic in the specific form. Okay, I'll just share my thoughts with you all with regard to this topic. And third thing, I'll clearly mention that I have opportunity on the first day to deal with the introduction to disability studies and law. So this is a subject which will be dealt in by me in this particular day, and this will be a curtain riser to the upcoming topics which we are going to deal in. So my area would be limited to the introduction part, so I would mention this thing, and likewise I will be dealing with this, so that in the future course there would be no repetition of the points that would be brought in. So now I hope that you might have heard me in previous session for other programs also relating to POSH. And you know, I always love to be connected with the participant. And I wish that like previous program, as you all have been very active and interactive in many ways, I really feel that the same response should be coming from you all people at this moment. Okay, sir, can you just change the slide? Kalpesh, sir. Next slide. Yes. Now see, coming to this point, you please have a look to this slide and let me start with a question that what comes to our mind as soon as we hear the word disability? You can just note down, you can just send the answer in the chat box, or at least show me that you're connected to me. See, when we talk or when we see this particular slide, there are a number of things coming in our mind. You know, there will be a flash of different things we can recollect. Either we can see someone around us facing disability, or we can see someone who are suffering through different problems that are dealing with the disability. And the second thing I would be telling you that what was your reaction? What was your behavior when you saw these people dealing with the disability around? You know, there is intentionally adding of these two questions in the beginning, because I wish that you people should get connected with whatever we are speaking. Are you with me? You can just raise the thumb if you are with me. I request the participant. Okay, thank you very much. So I hope that I'm getting connected to you people. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So what comes to our mind as soon as we hear the word disability, there would be n number of flashes in the mind where we can recollect people around us who are suffering from disability. We can see different people going through the same kind of a thing when we talk about it. So you can understand I would speak today on such a topic which is very sensitive in tackling, as well as it is very crucial also. And that topic is Introduction to Disability Studies and Law. So when we talk about it, we have to be sensible at a time, and we have to deal it in a very different manner so that we can bring a change in the aspect which we are carrying and sitting here today. So I wish that this program should end with a mentality, with understanding, which may welcome our behavior towards these people in a very different sense. With this, I start my presentation. So next slide, please. There is again a small thing I would be making you indulge with. You can see a slide and you can find out something that is related to a cup. Okay, this is an analogy which I'm trying to bring in. Look at the slide and just type what you can get in with these two pictures on a slide. Whatever comes to your mind, let it come. I request everyone that is there something you can get connected with these two pictures which are totally different from each other? Okay, let me only bring it out. I just say that when you see this cup, okay, which is chipped off from one side, if you observe it, it has been chipped off from one side. But you should understand that its ability to hold the things is not gone. Just tell you one thing, when we talk about or when we observe this picture, try to understand a cup is there, which is hold. What is the ability of this cup? Okay, it holds some liquid in it. Just by chipping off, it will never lose its ability. Try to understand what I am trying to bring in. And that is the reason why the next picture beside that is with regard to a person suffering from disability. Till the time the things are not massive, they can be handled very nicely. Same when we talk about disability, physical disability should not affect our capacity to work. And that is to be understood by everyone. So, this is one of the major thing I always feel that, see, for what intention or with what intention you're trying to bring out the things whenever you talk about the open world. Now, sir, I request you to switch to the next slide. Kalpesh, sir. Kalpesh, sir. Okay, thank you very much, sir. Now, the next slide, if you go in through, is just to say we know about what really we know about the disability. In today's era, when we are sitting over here and attending this program, how much acquainted we are with the disability laws or disability concept? And is it sufficient to get acquainted with these all things? You can have a look to slide, you can read it out and tell me, is it sufficient to have a few things around us as a part of this concept of disability? You can just raise your thumb or you can just show a thumbs up. Is it sufficient? I request the participant to respond. Is it sufficient? No, it is really not sufficient. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for responding. So see, what I say, first of all, let us remember that disability is not a curse. It's a different ability. Second thing, as it has been brought in by Jim Abbott, who says it's not the disability that defines you. It is how you deal with the challenges that disability presents. So, it's very important for us to sensitize ourselves with this two statement. If we are the part of the society and if we know more with what we carry, we have to deal with every aspect that is dealing with the disability. So I would say that this is a program which would deal with such major questions that are dealing with the disability. And this is how we are going to sensitize ourselves in regard to this point. I'll come to the next slide. Sir, next slide, please. Okay. Now see, I'll just have an overview of what really is going to happen over all these days and what are the things which should be taken in as an objective to deal with the study of disability whenever we take into account. So first is understanding the concept of disability. Again, I say it's a very Herculean task to understand what disability is. I hope that everybody sitting over here would agree with me when I say the concept of disability. If you want to know the concept, you really have to work hard. Yes, very good. I got a responder of few people, because it's really hard when you go to the concept of disability. Then when we talk about exploring the social, medical, cultural models of disability, the next thing what the program is going to explore is the social, medical, cultural models of disability. Beside these three models, there are a number of the models which are dealing with disability. So we will not be limited only to social, medical, and cultural. I have been adding these particular points because they are the major markers when we deal with this disability part. So that is the reason why we say these models of disability are something which are recognized everywhere. And that is the reason why we talk about these three models. Beside that, there are a number of the models which are dealing with the disability. Next is we will also examine what are the disability rights and laws. That is one of the major thing which we take into consideration. And here when we talk about rights, we should also talk about the duties. I would be adding this particular part because just talking about rights is not sufficient, but with that we have to also see what are our duties towards the people who are suffering from disability, and we will also examine what the laws are. So in that we will come across a major legislations that are related to disability rights and whether these legislations are really effective or not. That would be one of the major question we would be talking about. And see, not only this thing, but you might have come across a word that is intersectionality when we talk about the disability and disabled rights. So learning this concept is also one of the major thing, because somewhere we talk about the aspect of identity whenever we are talking about the whole concept of disability. If you will observe, it is something that is related to this concept. So disability, accessibility, and ability to hold all these things is very important, and I hope that you people would agree with me when I talk about this particular aspect. So I hope that you're clear now what are the concepts, what are the things we are going to deal in with whenever we talk about these aspects. So let us move to the next point. Thank you very much. I'm happy that my message is reaching to you all. Now let us come to an interesting question. What do you mean by disability studies? This is a major question. Many of you might be doing a research on this particular topic, or you might have some other topic related to this particular context. So in that sense, when I talk about disability studies, see, in a general sense, I'll be bringing this thing. Disability studies seeks to transfer societal attitudes and the structure to create a more inclusive and equitable world for the people with disability. In simple words, if I need to put it out, I would say that this study is something that is going to transform these societal attitudes and structure. Okay, what is the reason of transforming this? It's very simple, because we need to create a more inclusive and equitable world for the people with disability. And really, we are working hard on that. We are trying to bring our best, but now it has been brought in a structured form. It has been brought in the form of the disability studies. So when we talk about it, it is an interdisciplinary field that studies disability as a social, cultural, political, and human right issues. And we have to remember, somewhere we have crossed the threshold which says that it's beyond the medical condition. So it's not just, disability is not just a medical conditions, but there are certain things which are related with the social, cultural, political, and human right issues that are affecting somewhere these disability. And when you study all this part, you all already have entered the arena of disability studies. So that's very important for us to understand that one of the major point, okay, which I always deal in my lectures, is we should know from where it all started. So Mohammed Rafi sir, I would be taking the questions at the end of my session. Okay, as you know, I'll give you ample time to as ask me questions on this particular part, but I'll just continue with the lecture so I can link with you all people. So now coming back to my topic, that when we talk about this thing, that is regard to one single individual who can be credited for coining the term disability studies. Okay, you will find that most of his, if I go to the field which has emerged from the work of several key figures. Okay, so particularly you cannot say that there were few or one particular person who has talked or coined the term, that is disability studies. You will see that it was a development, a movement that have taken place, which has really gave rise to this concept of disability studies. So if you talk about 1980s, if I talk about Erving Zola, some might have heard her name, is recognized for his role in founding the Society for Disability Studies. And then we also hear one name which has been really taken in whenever we talk about social model of disability. It is Mike Oliver. So you will see that this concept started emerging from 1980s, and it got driven by the disabled activists and the scholars in 1990s. And it started somewhere influencing the civil rights movements. Not only this thing, but if you try to connect these all developments of disability studies, you will see that feminist theories have also been linked to it. Then the critical race theories have also been a part of this particular developments. And not only this thing, but there are certain rights which are also connected with this concept of disability studies. So when we focus on these particular things, you will come to know that we have shifted from a medical narratives, and we are viewing the disability in a form of a social lens. Okay, so somewhere we are going away from this part, somewhere we are keeping the medical narratives aside, and we are trying to bring a broader perspective when we study this, what we say, disability studies. Okay, so this is again one of the major thing which we take into account. So in academic field, you will examine what is the meaning, what is the nature and the consequences of disability. So something moving beyond a purely medical concept or individual perspective to and shifting ourselves to a concept where we talk about social, cultural, and political factors affecting the disability. You will see that this is one of the challenge, or we can say that we have tried to overcome certain challenges that are dealing with this part. Okay, so transferring yourself from a traditional, normal, abnormal concept and promoting a broader understanding of disability as a form of human variation is one of the most important thing which should be carried out whenever we talk about disability studies. Do you agree with me when I say this concept? Very good. Very nice. I have a number of people who agree on this point, that there should be a broader understanding of disability as a form of human variation. Thank you very much. That's what we talk about. I would entertain all the questions. I again repeat this thing. I'll be dealing with discussion also rather than saying questions, because I told you I'm sitting here as a learner. I'll be dealing all of them after my lecture. Okay. So next slide, please. Okay, now coming to a general question that is dealing with this part. Before I move to this slide, I'll request you people, if you are interested in reading, you can refer the Disability Studies Reader, a book written by Leonard J. Davis. I'll be sending Kalpesh sir name of this book so that you can refer or read them. Then there is a Extraordinary Bodies. It's a book written by Rosemary Garland Thomas. And there is a Disability, the Basics, a very good book. I say that everyone sitting over here, if they are doing research on certain topics, they should refer this book, that is Disability, the Basics, which is written by Tom Shakespeare. And people who love to see certain documentaries, I would suggest them on Netflix. There is a documentary called as Crip Camp, CRIP, Crip Camp. It's a very good documentary. I just say that if you are interested, please go through this thing, and you can even have this literature which can be referred in the context of disability studies. Now, coming to the term, what does the term disability means? A very basic question, a very basic question. I say everyone sitting over here may have a different notion of disability. You know, it's very hard for us to conclude with a particular form of disability and accepting it as a part of a meaning or a definition of the term disability. So if I go to the roots of this thing, I don't know how many of you are knowing this thing, but this term learning disability was first used by Samuel Crick in the context of the children's with normal intelligence but learning difficulties due to the brain-based issues. Okay, so he introduced this term in 1963 with an aim of providing a specific label for those children and facilitate opportunities or support to these children's. Okay, so you can see or you can trace out that Samuel Crick is one of the name which we always take when we talk about the disability studies, when we go to the roots of the particular meaning or a particular word. So if I found that the word disabled has been in existence since 1570 to 80, have you come across such literature where you might have seen this thing? See, from 1570 to 80s, we will see the combination of the prefix dis, that is disability, which we talk about. This was something that connotes to be apart, away. Okay, if you go to the meaning of the term dis, what does it connotes? It connotes that you are apart. You are apart, you are away utterly, or you are having a negative or reversing force, an ability that is something which has been brought in to, which connotes the power or capacity to do or act. It may be physically, it may be mentally, legally, morally, or financially. Okay, so you know, this is a combination of that word dis and ability whenever you talk about it. So in short, disability is linked with the inability to do or act physically or mentally. When I go to the specific meaning of these words, where we started talking about the word that is disability. Now, when you relate, yet you will find that there is a less prefix word. Okay, these days we call handicapped, and it did not take on disabled meaning until early of the 20th century. Okay, so you know, if you, a very interesting story with regard to the word that is handicap has been referred. See, hand in cap. Okay, that's the word handicap we talk about. Hand in cap, that is a word which was popular around 1653 in UK. You know, what was this whole process about? It was a barter betting game that involved two people exchanging atoms. I hope that you are getting connected. Okay, I'm traveling through a arena of two different words, disability and handicapped. We are trying to bring out that from where these words have their origins, because you know, suddenly we started flipping up these words, we started speaking more about these words. So you know, handicap was something that was related to hand in cap, which was popular in the year 1653, wherein this was a game, betting or barter game, where two people used to exchange their atoms. Now by 1883, the word handicap started being used to mean equalization in many different areas other than sport. And from there, you get the term handicap, which was applied to the disabled children by 1950. And then we turn that it has been described all way as a disabled person afterwards, which was used for all the disabled person, adults and children with physical or mental disabilities by 1958. Okay, so you can find that the word handicap to describe people with disability is considered to be equal to the N word. The word handicap is now referred to by many of the disability community as H word. Okay, H, what does it stands for? Holding back. Okay, so that is how the whole concept have also created some chaos with regard to this concept of disability. So accordingly, if you go to coming back to the topic, if you see on the slide, there are certain quotations, there are certain definitions which are brought in with regard to the word what is disability. So accordingly, if I go to the legal definition, which has been set by the Americans with Disability Act, a person with a disability is someone who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity. Let me make you one thing clear over here. You may refer most of the laws in upcoming days. Also, you will come across the laws that are dealt with the disability. You know, we don't directly go to talking about the disability. What we bring into consideration is person with a disability. Okay, you will come across this thing also. Most of the act, what they try to define is not disability. They try to define what is a person's with a disability. Okay, so this is someone, as I told you, with regard to the definition again does not really offer a full picture of disability. Why? Because if you see, the definition is limited at certain level. So it is important for us to recognize diversity of disability, and according to me, it's not really possible to bring out a definition of the disability. But anyways, when we try to bring it, we try to just see that persons with disability, we try to always talk about them rather than talking disability as a concept. Okay, so diversity is there with regard to disability, and disabilities can be visible or invisible, something a person is born with or acquired at any point of his life that may be brought under the radar of the disability. I hope that you agree with me. It's, for me, when you ask me, it's very hard for me to define what is disability. Do you agree with this thing? Very good. Thank you for responding. Still, I'm not talking to the screen. I'm happy with this point. Okay, very good. It's really hard for us to define what is disability. So that's one of the major thing which we take into account. Now, these definitions, when we talk about, will never give us the clear picture of the term disability. It's very important for us to recognize that what disability is. And now see, when we talk about it, disability results for the interaction between individual with a healthy condition and the individual who are normal with their life. So you can find over here that disability can come from different ways also. Okay, so there are a number of the factors which can be read out with disability, but rather than giving a definition of disability, it's better to take it as a concept in a generic sense. I request everyone, whenever you talk about disability, take it in a generic sense. Why? Because we are never specific in talking about what disability is, because the results of disability also vary from person to person. Okay, so sometimes there will be environment factors, there might be negative attitudes, there might be a number of the things which are affecting a person suffering from the disability. So again, as I conclude with this thing, that there's no possibility of bringing a specific definition yet. We have tried to define what is disability. Okay, so next slide, please. Now, very simple. I know most of you who are sitting here might be knowing the simple concepts of disability, types of disability. Again, one of the major thing I would discuss, it's very hard to bring out what types of disability are there. Okay, even when I tried to find it out, I came across a number of the disabilities which are covered in different acts, and I could not take out the specific disability because, the limitation of time is also there with me. So what I did, I tried to focus on disabilities which can be read cumulatively in this particular form. So a permanent, before I proceed to whatever has been written on the slide, I'll just tell you one thing. A permanent disability is there and a temporary disability is also there. These are the major bifurcations which are brought in. A permanent disability is a physical or mental injury expected to last indefinitely. Okay, and if I talk about the term temporary disability, it is something that is going to affect a person for a limited period. Now, for me, it's very important for you people to know the basics of this thing, because I know the crowd who is sitting here, the participants which are sitting here, for them it is very important to know the things from basic, and that is the reason why I have talked about these two major parts, permanent disability and temporary disability. And I say people who are suffering from disability also, okay, for them also it is very much important to know what exactly these concepts are. So permanent disability can be further categorized into permanent total disability and the permanent partial disability. Okay, so when I say permanent total disability, where the individual can no longer work, and permanent partial disability is that where the individual retains some capacity to work but with limitations. Why such bifurcation is necessary? Because when you talk about application of law in a different context, you have to remember it may be any law which we may come across, as the sir have previously stated about. If we talk about these particular laws, and there are certain limitations that are drawn in the application also. जैसे ही concept change होगा, permanent disability if you talk about, permanent total disability you talk about, permanent partial disability you talk about, if you refer different laws, you will see that there is always a change that has been taken into consideration in application of laws also. Okay, so somewhere they stand as a limitation also, and somewhere they work in a wider aspect also when we talk about it. And that is the reason why for us it is very important to know what are the types of disability. I hope that you agree with me. Let me see whether you agree or not. It's not a compulsion. You have a right to disagree also. Okay, thank you very much. I shall proceed further. Now, when I talk about types of disability, there are certain things which are taken into account, okay, like physical disability. Now, these impairments affects a person's physical mobility or ability to perform physical tasks. Okay, so we have n numbers of example with regard to that. Again, muscular dystrophy or amputations or paralysis. There are n number of examples dealing with physical disability. Sensory disabilities, when we talk about, we say that they involve the loss or limitation of one or more of the senses, such as sight may be there, hearing might be there, or touch might be there. So under this particular point, we have blindness or deafness or visual impairments, which can be brought as a part of sensory disability. Then comes the cognitive disabilities. Now, these are the disabilities which affect a person's ability to think, reason, or remember, making learning and problem solving difficult for that person. Okay, nowadays we have heard more about it. Autism is there, Down syndrome is there, or intellectual disabilities are there. Recently, we came across a movie by Amir Khan also, who has worked on this particular line to create a awareness. So, you know, you have a number of examples when it comes to cognitive disabilities. Okay, now there are two major kinds of disability, less spoken about it. Okay, so I'll bring those two major disabilities also: mental health disability and invisible disability. If you might be hearing, sir, you might have come across this term, that is invisible disability. Okay, so mental health disability and invisible disability, the recognition of these two types of disability you may not find in our country at major arenas. Okay, but you will see most of the countries are trying to accept them as a form of disability. I'll bring it. And mental health, when we talk about, we have certain laws that are dealing with this part, but you should know that what law is covering and what is left uncovered. That is one of the major thing we need to understand. In upcoming sessions, you will understand this difference also. So mental health disabilities, when we talk about, they affect a person's emotional, psychological, and social well-being, impacting their ability to function in a daily life. Okay, you know, you will get surprised to know this thing also, that there can be certain conditions like depressions or bipolar disorder and anxiety, which can be a part of this mental health disability, which we are not ready to accept at certain extent. Invisible disability, when we talk about, they are not immediately visible to others, okay, but can still have a significant impact on person's ability to function, and that is the reason why they are called as invisible disability. Okay, there may be chronic pains, they may be post-traumatic stress disorder. You might have heard nowadays breaking of marriages or other things are leading us to PTSD, that is post-traumatic stress disorders, and there are other incidents that impact a person a lot on this context. So I hope that when I talk about these types of disabilities, there are few laws which are covering these particular points in India or types in India, and there are certain laws which we are still, there should be certain laws which should be brought in to cover the major part that are dealing with disabilities. Okay, that is types of disability. So it's our duty to find out really what is remaining to be covered under this part. And as I say, disabilities are diverse, and that is the reason we need to think more on this particular line. Sir, I request you to move to the next slide. Now let me come to one specific thing, that is, if you people will observe here, there are certain, if you give a look to this particular slide, okay, there is one thing, disability models. Okay, what are these models? So see, disability studies scholars have outlined certain theories to explain how disability exists in the world. You know, you might, some of you might question that I'm going more deeper with this particular concept about disability studies. Let me tell you one thing. Whenever we read a law, you always give this law a backing of jurisprudence. And when you are dealing with jurisprudence, you have to go deeper with the particular topic, with the particular subject. And that is the reason why we are dealing with the theories also. Okay, they outline certain theories to explain how disability exists in the world. Okay, and these theories are called as models of disability. People who are taking or who are a part of disability studies may know this concept very well. Okay, and people who are not knowing, for them, what are these models? These are the theories which are brought in by the disability studies scholars, okay, to recognize or outline what exactly the disability is or how it exists. I hope that you people have been clear with this concept of models. Okay, are you with me? Are you with me? Okay, I'll wait for your response. Okay, I wish at least I should communicate you. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we are on the models. We are on the models of disability. Now see, there are different models. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh my God, that's a really good response. That too at this hour, I should say. Now see, when we talk about it, models of disabilities are different ways of understanding the concept of disabilities. Okay, the first model we talk about is medical model. Okay, so when we talk about medical model, I will tell Kalpesh sir to share my slide with you people, okay, so that this will be with you. They are not that extraordinary, but at least I have tried to bring out something from my side. Okay, so I'll request Kalpesh sir to circulate this PPT with you all. Okay, so when we talk about this model, okay, when we talk about this model, that is medical model, what we bring. See, this model views disability as a defect of impairment within an individual. So, you know, when I say medical model, what is focused in this particular part? We focus on diagnosis and treatment, often seeing the individual as needed to be fixed or cured. Okay, so in medical model, what is the major thing we take into account is that you are going to see that disability as a defect of or impairment within an individual, and what is our main intention? To cure or fix that disability. Okay, so if you see a person who is I'll give you an example of everything so that the things who should be clear at your end also. See, take an example where a person with a spinal cord injury is seen as someone who needs a medical intervention for his condition. Then obviously the theory says that we should fix or we should cure the disability which is there, okay, which is seen in the individual. When I go to the next model, that is social model. Okay, what is the social model focuses on? It talks about social barriers, okay, exclusion and inequality that people with disability face. When we study disability studies, we concentrate on these models, we concentrate on these theories, and we work accordingly. Okay, so social model focuses on social barriers, exclusion, and inequality that people with disability face. Okay, so you know, it argues that the society, not the individual, is responsible for the challenges faced by the people with disabilities. Okay, so again, it's a theory. You may disagree with certain theories which are part of this, or you may disagree with certain models which are part of these models. Okay, so let me give you an example of social model. A person in a wheelchair is not disabled by the condition, okay, by their condition in which they are going. But you know, the lack of facility, lack of ramps or accessible transportation will make him feel that, okay, this is a disability which I am suffering from, and that is the reason he starts suffering more. So this is also one of the model when we talk about social model. Then next comes the biopsychological model, which is again a combination element where medical and social models are acknowledged. Okay, they acknowledge that disability has both biological and social aspect, and you know, that is the reason why we say that we take into account the person's health and social circumstances. You know, a major combination of two things which can bring a better results. Okay, so a person who is suffering from a mental health condition is understood through both their psychological experiences and societal pressure which a person is going to face. Okay, so next comes the human right model. Again, I told you, human rights as other rights, we also have human rights model emphasizing the equal rights, dignity, and the respect of the people with disability. Okay, so it is again an idea which is based that people with disability should have the same rights and opportunities everywhere else. Okay, so you will find that there are certain major accessible educations or employment opportunities which are advocated when you talk about protecting the human rights of the disabled people. So this model completely works on this line. Okay, so next slide, please. I hope that everybody is synchronizing with me with regard to the concept of models that are dealing with disability studies. Okay, thank you. Now see, coming to the next point, that is the social constructions of disability. Okay, so when we talk about this thing, see, please remember one thing, as sir has stated, that I'm going to connect you with the laws that are brought in. Okay, now if you take society, if you take cultural differences, if you take political things, if you connect the laws with them, these particular factors, you will understand what I am really trying to bring in. Okay, so when I go to a major concept, okay, where I'll say that in the historical context, what were the major things that were focused on when we talk about disability? Okay, so in many historical contexts, you will see at the first point, disability as a stigma. Now also you come across certain people who think that it is a stigma. Okay, and I hope that you agree with me. I should not say in a historical context, but at present also we come across certain people who think that disability is a stigma. People with disability were often seen as abnormal or undesirable. Okay, in past, this was a major concept that was taken into account. Society would have means when I talk about past, the society has marginalized or excluded them, and even viewing their condition as something which was ashamed of. Okay, so that was one of the major thing. It was taken in the form of stigma. Okay, so in earlier societies, you will see people with disabilities have been kept hidden from the public, okay, or institutions. Okay, you will find such literature also which has talked about it. So something which I speak is based on the literature I have read in. Okay, so you will come across such things also. Then disability as a result of societal barriers. Over the time, you will see we shifted towards understanding that disability not is I can say that disability is not just a personal or medical issue. Okay, but what you will feel, it is something which is largely shaped by the societal barriers. Okay, जो चीज जितनी होती नहीं है, it has been presented in front of us in such a way that we start feeling that yes, this is something which has been brought in. Okay, so you can understand there are factors in earlier societies also. Access to public building, education, transportation, you know, they often excluded people with disabilities. Okay, making that they are the barriers, societal barriers, rather than a person inherently having such kind of condition. Okay, so if you remember something from past, if you might have came across a literature where it was stated that pets and disabled are not allowed, xyz thing and disabled are not allowed. So we come across such situations also in past where you will find that the social barriers were brought in when the question was with regard to disability. Now, disability as a social identity. Okay, this is a perspective which emphasizes that disability is not just an individual medical condition, but it is a social identity shaped by how society views and interact with people they are suffering from the or having disabilities. Okay, so please understand this perspective where disability is not just an individual medical condition. Okay, but a societal identity will shape us with that thing. Let me give you an example of this thing. People with disability can find empowerment in seeking their condition as part of their identity, where you will see social and political aspect of being disabled come to the forefront. Okay, so you can have certain examples where social identity and disability can be brought in this way. Okay, I hope that you are clear with the societal construction of disability. Does this factor affect the law? That's a question to you. If yes, raise your thumb. If no, then we are having people who are not responding also, I should say. Let me know whether these factors affected the development of law. Yes, very nice. Very nice. I'm getting good responses from you people. Yes, these are the factors. If you go to any law that is dealing with disability, you'll find that these are the major factors which we have taken into consideration. Okay, now, sir, I request you to move to the next slide. Okay, I have to keep the time also in my mind. Okay, I'll try to wind it up in short. Now see, coming to the point, that is the history of disability rights, okay, which is marked by a complex interplay between the societal attitude, discriminative practices, and advocacy efforts. Okay, so you will find that institutionalization and eugenics to the modern movement has always talked about advocating for equal access to and rights for the people who are suffering or who are with disability. Okay, so you'll find this thing also that the history of disability rights is very complex. Okay, whenever it comes to bring it in a very different form, you face certain problems. Why? Because everything has been scattered in different ways, but still, as I traced out certain things which are dealing with these pointers, I'll go through it. Okay, so pre-19th century, when we talk about, people with disabilities were often having a stigma. Okay, considering that they are burdens, or even you will see that there was a notion where people believed that there was an evil spirit which was residing in a person, and because of that they have faced such things. Okay, so that was the reason why you will see they were frequently isolated from the society, and they were given a limited education, healthcare, and employment. But after 19th century, that is late 19th and early of the 20th century, you will see large institutions were established. Okay, they were established to house and care for the individuals with disability. But you know, this thing could not bring a major change. Why? Because these institutions were often overcrowded, and they were understaffed, and they were provided with inadequate care, leading to again widespread of abuses and neglects which were caused in this area. Okay, in today's era also, if you try to find out or locate this problem, you will see major things that are related in this part also. But still, we say that 90s end and early of 20s have at least talked about rising of the institutions. Then when I talk about eugenics movement, this was one of the major things which we have taken into account. The early 20th century saw the rise of eugenics movement. Okay, which promoted the idea of improving the human race by eliminating undesirable traits. Okay, including that which were associated with disability. Okay, so the ideology which was behind this eugenic movement was simple, that discriminatory policies including forced sterilization of individuals with disability was also done on this behalf. So this was an era where we could not really see that there were the major changes which were taking place with regard to the conditions of disabled. Okay, then immigration restrictions were also brought in. Eugenics also influenced somewhere immigrational laws which concerns about tainted bloodliness, leading to restrictions on the entry of individuals with disability. Okay, but you know, these all things created some changes, and we talked about the disability right movements. Okay, so the disability right movements gained momentum in the mid of 20th century, where you will see civil rights movements and a growing awareness of injustice faced by the people with disability really brought certain changes. There were key figures like Ed Roberts and Juliet Human who played a very pivotal role in shaping the movements, their goals, and the strategies really brought a change. And a focus on independent living was taken into account, and that movement is called as independent living movement, which again emerged as a key component of the disability right movement. Okay, so it advocated about the rights of the people with disability to live independently and control their own lives. Okay, and that is the reason why it is termed as independent living movements. And then when we come to, or when we try to trace out these movements, one landmark legislation we come across, the disability rights movement in US. When we talk about, we have Americans with Disabilities Act, ADA, of 1990s, which was a landmark piece of legislation which was brought in by US, guaranteeing equal access to employment, public accommodations, transportations, and communication for people with disabilities. Okay, and you know, this was something which really globally impacted. Okay, so the disability right movements had a very significant impact internationally also, inspiring that similar legislations and advocacy efforts in the other countries should take place. Okay, sir, can you just move to the next slide? Now here, I say, as I'm going to share you this slide, so there's no question that it is not visible or the handwritings are very small. So I'll just tell you one thing. This is attempt that has been made. Disability accessibility timeline is provided, which again I have taken from a literature. This is not something which has been made by me. So here you will observe that there is a timeline which has been provided, a timeline which is starting from a particular year which ended to the year 2022. Okay, after 2022 you will find certain judgments that are dealing with the part. This is specifically in the context of disability laws in India. Okay, I am not dealing them separately because course, you will have certain sessions dealing with that. But as a part of this session, it was very important for me to talk about the disability laws in India. And that is the reason, rather than going separately with one law, I've tried to bring it in the form of timeline. Okay, so you people can have a look to this thing. Whatever you will come across after this session will be regarding to these laws which are dealing with disability. I'm coming back to the next slide. So next slide, please. To avoid repetition, I'm just skipping that particular slide. You will come across those all laws in upcoming session. Now, coming to the key components in disability studies. Okay, whenever we bring out the discussions that are relating to the important concepts or to disability, we always go across these three components. Okay, that is ableism, accessibility, and inclusion. When I say ableism, what it refers to? It refers to prejudice, it refers to discrimination or social prejudice against people with disability. Okay, so it involves a attitude or action that deval people with disabilities, and it may manifest in various ways, such as discrimination in employment or education or public spaces. So when you carry out a disability study, you always try to take these components into consideration. So that is ableism. Somewhere, again, as I told you, I'll give you an example of this thing. A workplace is refusing to accommodate a person who uses a wheelchair, assuming that they cannot perform their job. Okay, so that is also a kind of a discrimination which has been brought in. So ableism is that one concept which we really study in. Then we talk about accessibility. Okay, accessibility, it focuses on the design of the environments. Okay, it may be products, it may be services, so that they can be used by the people with disability. Okay, now what they include is physical environment like ramps or elevators, as well as the digital platforms. Okay, they may be the websites or the apps, how they are helping in developing certain concepts that may be benefited to the people suffering from disability. Okay, so accessibility is one of the major thing on which the disability studies focus. And the next is inclusion. Okay, inclusion again is a practice of ensuring that people with disabilities are included in all aspects of society. Okay, it may be any aspect, that may be education, employment, social activities, and community life. Okay, so it focuses on making sure that the individual, regardlessly of their abilities, are treated equally and given the same opportunity. Okay, so I'll just give you an example of this thing. Again, it's a very good example: creating diverse classrooms where students with disability participate along with their peers, or promoting policies that support the employment of the people with disability. Okay, so these are three major key concepts which we take into account that are dealing with the disability studies. Okay, I hope that you agree or you are with me. Let me know whether you are still with me or not. I hope that I'm trying to reach you all. Okay, so next slide, please. So, okay, thank you very much, sir. Now, coming to the next point, which is international disability right law. Again, I should not fall short of the time. I'll try to cover it in I'll take the things into account, whatever I can. Okay, so coming to the first point, United Nations Convention on Right of Persons with Disability. Okay, this was a treaty which was adopted in 2006, which aimed in promoting and protecting the rights of the person with disability. Okay, so you have to remember these were the certain instances internationally which focused on the disability rights and the laws which were taken into consideration by taking them as a base. So CRPD focuses on ensuring that people with disability enjoy the same freedom as others, and that is the reason why it covers a major area. अगर आप इस convention को पढ़ोगे तो there are major things which are covered under this particular convention. So they include education, employment, healthcare, social inclusion. So countries have ratified this, and they are committing to make the legal, social, and environmental changes that remove the barriers which are faced by the people with disability. Then we also talk about the Equality Act. This is an act which is a legal framework in the UK designed to prevent discrimination based on various characteristics, including disability. So it protects people from discrimination in the workplace, education, and in service, and it is provided by public bodies as well as private enterprises also. So the law requires employers to make reasonable adjustment for employees with disability. Okay, so such a thing is providing accessibility to the workplace or flexible work hours. These are taken into consideration whenever you talk about Equality Act 2010. Okay, so next slide, please. Now, one of the major topics which I really feel here I should touch on is intersectionality and disability. Okay, people with disability do not all experience discrimination in the same way. Their experiences are shaped by other aspects of their identity. They may be race, gender, and sexual orientation. Okay, and this is something called as or known as intersectionality. Okay, so I hope that you people will agree with me when I say people with disability do not all experiences discrimination in the same way. Now, intersectionality again is a term which has been coined by Kimbrell Crenshaw. Intersectionality, again, it explains how various forms of discrimination like racism, sexism, or ableism interact and overlap. It means what? The person may face multiple layers of discrimination or disadvantages simultaneously. So let me tell you, if there is a woman of a particular color and disability, you know, these are two factors. Now she has to face a discrimination on two major points. Okay, so it may be racism, it may be sexism. Okay, so you will experience that poor access to education or healthcare, higher unemployment and poverty rates due to these particular factors which can be seen in. Okay, with this, if it is combined with disability, then you don't ask what is going to happen. So a lady may struggle more to access the legal aid, medical care, or it may be based with regard, again, one factor which we can add to this particular point is caste also. So, you know, there are certain factors which are brought in this thing. Again, LGBTQ plus people with disability, you will see that homophobia, transphobia are certain things which are ableism. Okay, that is again a face of ableism which can be seen in this context. So common challenges to these people include several things: rejection or invisibility in both the context. Okay, so high risk of mental health due to the social exclusion, vulnerability to the violence and abuses that can be brought in. So a transgender person with a disability may face both healthcare and discrimination for the gender identity and physical access barriers to medical facilities. Now see, when I say intersectionality and disability, we require the concrete laws which may address both the things. We may have certain laws, then again I say we need to work on the implementation of those laws, because this is one of the major thing which has been seen or faced by everyone. So major things that can be brought in is inclusive laws and policies should be taken into account. Again, promoting justice and dignity to all people, that is what is related here, not just in isolation but in the context of the identity that should be taken into account. Okay, so people with disabilities are not monolithic group. Okay, their lives or their realities are shaped by many social identities. So addressing disability rights without considering these factors will make the things more complex and compound. Okay, nature of oppression may be brought against such people. So that is very important to have this intersectional sectional approach when we talk about this thing. So the center of voice whenever we deal with disability rights or laws should be based on this line. Okay, so that is what I really wish whenever I talk about this intersectionality and disability. So next slide, please. Now, people with disability often face numerous challenges, okay, that will prevent the full participation of the people in the society. So their barriers are not just physical. There is a attitudinal thing which can be brought in here: economic, environmental, political, and n number of factors which are seen. So I'll go one by one with these factors and I will try to bring out certain points that are dealing with this part. So these stems for prejudices, stereotype, and negative assumptions about people with disability you will always find as a part of the behavior in the society. So the common issues that are included in this line is what? Seeing one person is not capable of doing something due to disability, or you can say he is dependent on someone else. due to his condition. Okay, so there is a behavior of pity, there is a behavior of other things that can be brought under this thing, social exclusion or avoidance of such people. That is also one of the major thing which can be brought in. So these attitudes can lead to discrimination in employment, education, healthcare, and even the social life of the person gets disturbed due to it. Then comes the environmental barriers. When you talk about it, the physical and other architectural obstacles that in a particular place will affect the major part that is relating to the life of a person who is disabled. Okay, like I gave you example, lack of ramps, elevators, accessible public transport. Then you can see assistive technologies are not that sufficient in accessible restrooms or entrances are one of the major things. So how does these things barriers, it barriers the mobility and independence of a person suffering from disability. Okay, so economic barriers are also there. People who are suffering from disability, they are unemployed. Okay, so they face extra expenses for their own care equipments or therapies, and in that you will see that they have to lead their life with poverty. So economic exclusion that leads to limited access to education, training, and opportunity, that may obviously somewhere affect the life of the people. Then political barriers are also there. People with disability often lack representation and voice in decision making. Okay, so inaccessible voting stations, that may be one of the major problem. Policies not inclusive of disability needs. Then lack of data and consideration in lawmaking is one of the major thing. Even when you talk about the today's scenario, you will find out that when it comes to the question of data collection, we are still not able to bring out the stable numbers into consideration. So here the government needs to work a lot. So this result in a systematic neglect and policy failure whenever we talk about political barriers. And with this, there are additional barriers also. Many people misunderstand disabilities, assuming that they define a personal identity, a person's identity. They imply certain mental incapacity or helplessness when it comes to this thing. So such views which are somewhere bringing a stigma to the individual instead of empowering those individuals is really again one of the major thing faced by people who are suffering from disabilities. Okay, so healthcare disabilities are also one of the major problem. Limited access to quality of the health services, then lack of trained professionals who understand disability is, and there is a higher risk of inadequate treatment when it comes to disabilities which are relating to health. So you can see that overcoming these barriers is very hard, and you can overcome only when you are aware of these things. Okay, if I'll just go to my next slide. What is the principle I will try to bring in when I talk about it? Next slide, please. Now see, accessibility and universal design. These are two major things. I hope that you might have heard about this concept of universal design, which refers to an idea of creating an environment, products, and services that are usable by all people. And that is the reason why we have talked about the term that is universal design, regardlessly of their age, disability, or other factors. Okay, so without the need for adaptation of specialized design, this approach is again inclusive and it can benefit everyone, not to only people who are suffering from disabilities. So they focus on equity and flexibility. Then perceptible information for all the users can be brought in, plus low physical efforts needs to interact with the environment or the products that are dealing with this part. So universal design principles can be taken into account, and then physical accessibility of certain things can be brought in. Okay, so physical accessibility or digital accessibility is one of the major thing on which or they are the major thing if it can become a part of universal design in practice and principles. So you can work on this line. We can have closed captioning, accessible websites, screen readings for all those people who are suffering from different kinds of disability. Okay, with that, in physical accessibility, we can have wheelchair ramps, elevators, accessible bathrooms, and restrooms. Okay, so these can be one of the way where you can take a wider approach in understanding the things which are dealing with this part. And see, beside this thing, universal design is not just a technical requirement. Okay, it's something which is moral and practical approach for creating a world which will be workable for everyone. So here we can say that there should be certain things that can be added as a part of this point. And beside that, so next slide please. I'll just wind up in 2-3 minutes because I wish to share certain few things with you which are beyond my slides. So there are different challenges in implementing of disability rights and support. Okay, so there are a number of challenges like lack of awareness among authorities, institutions, or individuals. I'm not dealing with the challenges part, because enforcement of disability laws, which will be dealt in Rights of Persons with Disability Act 2016, these enforcement will be taking care of these all challenges, wherein you will see most of the things are added as a part of this thing. Okay, poor monitoring and absence of penalties and non-compliance. Disability and technology is also one of the major challenge which is seen in this accord. Then healthcare access and insurance, wherein I have already talked about it. Let me bring to your notice one more thing over here, that when we talk about insurance in India, if I talk about, there are a number of disabilities which the insurance company are not covering, and this is one of the major problem faced by disabled people. Okay, so you need to have a broader perspective when it comes to insurance or health insurance exclusions. Should be taken very seriously. Why? Because they reject certain disabilities. They do not cover the assistive device or therapy, which you will find better in other countries as compared to India. Okay, because there are few disabilities which are taken care by the Indian government. Okay, but there are major disabilities which really need to be seen by the government when the question comes to bringing a change with regard to this point. Now, when I go to the last point, that is the last slide, please. Now, see, when we talk about towards and inclusion with regard to future key areas of progress, okay, so there are certain things which need to be followed. Changing attitudes, okay, that can bring a change, or awareness campaigns can be brought in. Inclusion of education, that can be taken into account. Then legislative progress is one of the major thing which is required for the improvement of disability laws in certain areas. Stronger enforcement mechanism can be brought in. Then building a more inclusive society, that is one of the common thing which I will really try to add in over here. Okay, so community involvement, policy change, and societal attitude are one of the major things that should be taken into account whenever you talk about this point. Sir, move to the next slide, please. Okay, this is some model which we can take into account, that is ALLE. Acknowledge, learn, leverage, and yield. Certain things that are related in this context of disability. As the slide is going to be with you, you can go through it. I have to interact with you people, because I feel I will not complete the session till the time I don't interact. Okay, so I'm winding it. In short, these are certain things which I have tried to add in to create a more clear picture of these points. Kalpit sir, you can stop sharing the slide. I need to talk to the participant now. Okay, this is what I have as a part of my presentation. I am winding here because it's 2011 or 2012, whatever it may be, but I need to add certain things over here. Or before that, let me just check it out. Distinction between each of them is important. Such an
Yes, participant, please raise your hand. Any
so
questions
there
are
are
there?
certain questions which are
Yes,
brought
yes,
in here. Very good. I'm
pretty
so
mental.
happy. Sir, just let me read it out and let
Yeah,
me
yeah.
check it out. Everyone has really participated a lot. They have added so many things. Very good. Environment. Okay. Let me tell you one thing before I wind up. I want to share something with you people. And if you have first question, let me know those questions also. I would just add one thing here. It's very easy. You might be thinking it is very easy for her to speak on disability, but only that person can understand who is undergoing this fact of disability. I hope that this question might be in your mind whenever I talk about the disability. Let me tell you one thing very clearly in this regard. So my my video was off, sir. You would have just let me know. I really wanted to be with these people. Okay, no issues, sir. I was talking about one thing which is very clear in this context, that is with regard to disability. There might be a question in your mind. A person who do not belong to this particular phase can never know what disability is. Then let me tell you one thing. I am facing a disability which is rarest of rare in our country. Okay, let me share with you. I'm suffering from lymphoedema. I don't know how many of you might have heard about it, but this is a condition where you will not come across more human beings or individuals who are suffering from this thing. Okay, so I can understand very well. I can understand the sufferings which a person has to go through. Okay, if you will see me, you will always find me, okay, she's very normal, like invisible disabilities. Okay, but if you will see in real sense, I'm suffering from a issue, or I'm suffering from a disability which has not been recognized even in our country. Okay, so you can understand there are a number of things that are to be covered by the law. So I can understand this urge of what a person goes through, and that was a single reason I really wanted a platform where I could discuss things in a broader way. And I always respect Dr. Kalpesh sir for this initiative, where you will see he always is ready to accept whatever comes to from my side with regard to this thing. Without any question, he said, okay ma'am, let us do this, is a good initiative. But the real reason behind that is I really wanted a platform where I can put my thoughts very in a very broader way. I can share with you all people what really is going through all these things. Okay, it's not an easy task. It's really not an easy task. I tell you this thing, a suffering which a person face. I salute to everyone sitting over here, not because I am going through this thing, but it takes a lot and lot courage to be a part of this whole process. Till the time you take birth, till the end of your life, you have that sufferings with you. And nobody can understand this thing. This is a social, mental, psychological, from every aspect you can understand what a person goes through it. I'll just share a small incident with you people. I'm suffering from lymphoedema, where you have an edema on your hands, and that is something which is very different. I have a kid of 6 years. I'll just share with you something which is really touching to my heart whenever I talk about this. I was suffering from lymphoedema. I went to his school in the beginning. Till the time he did not understood it was okay. Okay, after that, one day he said me, Mom, you don't come to school. I asked him, why you are saying like this? Then he said, no, mama, everybody will smile or everybody will make talks about your hands. Okay. Then I made him sit there. Okay. Till the time he was 6 years old. And I really shared with him, Shivansh, this is not something only your mother is going through. There are n number of people who are suffering from this thing. And see, whenever somebody laughs on your mother, you just explain them that this is a condition called as lymphoedema. My mother is suffering from this particular thing, and you don't need to get worried about me because I have already faced this thing. So this is how the psychology changes. This is the change I really want on this platform. I see there are so many participants here. I just say they don't take it only as a course for a certificate or academia, but please carry a message from this platform that till the time we don't change our attitude towards the people suffering from disability, the change will never be seen in them. Okay, I know this is a message I really wanted to give in. That was the reason I winded up my session also a bit early, because I told sir I have to talk with the participants. Okay, I want to share whatever is there in my heart with regard to these points. Okay, so it's not an emotional message. It's not a thing, because I am also a part of law. And let me tell you one thing, I have not taken a single benefit being disabled at this thing. Whatever my academia is there, it has been established on my own. So I say this thing also, disability never stops you from anything. You can compete equally with everyone. You can stand equally with everyone. That is only the thing you need to come out from this part. So that is one thing I really wanted to share with you all. And I say thank you for participating so actively in this session. I really feel good with Kalpesh sir's program. Sir, your crowd is really very good. Okay, that really makes a person speak a lot and prepare a lot at every instance. So hats off to all the participants who have been with me for this whole sessions. I really thank you all. Is there any question now? You can ask me. You can, whatever is still my limits, I'll try to speak on that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your responses. It means a lot to me.
Thank you, ma'am. Participant, any question, query from your side? You can raise hand. We'll take up maybe a couple of questions. So one Shraddha has raised her hand. So Shraddha, are you there?
Okay, what is different? Just let me check it out.
Cognitive and mental health
Mental health
disability.
disabilities. Okay, so see now, in our country, when you talk about mental health disabilities are taken in a very different way. That is, they are specifically, when you will go to the laws which will be dealt in other sessions, I'll tell you there is a proper bifurcation in that. Okay, mental health law, mental health disability is a wider term than a cognitive disabilities. Okay, so you can see here cognitive is just taking certain parts into consideration that are relating to the understanding or other part. Mental health is a very wider term. Mental health disabilities covers majority of the part that are dealing with overall health that may be related to brain or other parts that are relating to this context. So in your upcoming lecture, you will always come across this point. Okay, Manish, so you have to bear with some patience regarding to this point, and that will be brought in. Okay, but at ground level, I'll just tell you this is a major difference between that. Ruby ma'am, thank you very much. I really appreciate. She's one of the participant. I always find ma'am everywhere. Okay, there is one more. There are n number of questions. Disability may come to anybody at any point. Okay, what are invisible? In my PPT which sir have shared with you, there is this term invisible disabilities. I have already talked about it. Krish, you can just read it out, and there are examples also which can be brought in as a part of this invisible disabilities. Nowadays, you will see depression, anxiety. These are certain things which are taken in. And is it those under 50% disabilities benchmark? Still long way to go back. Okay, we do not cover this particular point as a 50% disabilities into account. Ma'am, can we say intersectionality includes refugees, migrants, and disability? Okay, at certain level where it can be recognized by the law, you can bring it. But directly refugees and migrants did not fall or be brought under this category. Now, Mrs. Priyanshu, those having no disabilities, they should be grateful. Okay, yes, that is really a better thing I should say. It's a message also which is brought in by ma'am. Sir, are there any questions? I hope that I have brought all the questions.
We'll take up last question from Sumit Kumar. Sumit,
Okay.
are you there? And we'll close. Yes, Sumit, are you there? I think I think we are, madam, we are done with all the questions. So again, I would say it was a comprehensive session, as you did in last couple of sessions in POS Act. So because setting a stage for the future, like a further session, it's very, very difficult. Putting all things together, right? It's not only discussing very few aspects. So I can see from the responses and then interaction from the participants. So they had a great insight from particular subject matter, and I hope participants will strengthen their the learning skill, I would say, in upcoming week. So on behalf of Madam Organizing Committee, we are grateful for your wonderful session and insight, and I look forward to seeing you. Yes, Marisput, over to Dr. Marisput.
Yeah. Thank
Yes,
you,
over to
Kalpesh.
you.
Yeah, yes. Thank you, Kalpeshwar. Great learning from for me. I have learned a lot, and in fact, you brought your example into the right stage and make the people to aware and how to overcome the attitudinal barrier through a kind of education and sensitization from the family to the society. Learn that's great example you set for us, ma'am. Thanks for that, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. We
And
learn
thanks
a lot from you, sir. We are still at the beginning stage, we say, sir. We are blessed to have you, people like you with us, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. And I have learned a lot, ma'am. Thank you for that great approach which you have. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you
It's a
very much.
great thing, like, we have so many centers are there in law school, Center for Corporate Law, Constitution Law, right? There are different kind of, we have centers are there, but it's good, like some of the law schools. And then because nobody talking about this particular thing. So when movements are, some activity happens in under the banner of, particular centers. So that area, particular, things goes. So that is the
So
idea.
you,
So
sir, we would say that you provide us a platform, sir. So we are thankful to you. Because of you, at least we can reach to so many people, and we really are blessed. I say to associate with people like you, sir.
now I'm like acting like a Nokia. Nokia tagline was connecting people. So I'm connecting law teachers. So that is my tagline.
Okay, sir, that's really very
Okay,
nice
thank you
word.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thank
Thank
you.
you.